wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I wonder if they could hear me saying "Bah humbug."
Oh, is that what you were singing? Okay.
Yeah.
I just heard bah or something.
Bah humbug. Anyways, good morning or evening or whenever we get to see you. Thanks for joining us. My name is Brian. I'm the pastor at Open Door, and this is Joe. He's the worship pastor here too. Glad you're joining us. And how's your week been going?
I'm having a nice week. Yeah, I'm having a nice week. I don't know. There's no particular reason, but sometimes when things are just kind of even keel, it's nice to be able to kind of take a moment and appreciate that they're just there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we live so much between things that are great and things are terrible that we fail to appreciate when things are normal.
And this sounds like just a normal, uneventful kind of week.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It is amazing to me that we are like 25%, if I can use a percentage, through December. I kind of failed to acknowledge that we're even in December at this point.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you a quick question before we get kind of too deep into things. What's the Christmas song that you hear that makes you go, "Oh, it's Christmas"? I'll tell you what mine is while you're thinking of yours.
Yes, tell me yours.
And mine is, I don't know why it is, but it's Silver Bells. That for some reason, when I hear Silver Bells, it's not a faith-based song. It's just kind of a mundane Christmas song. But city sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressing hot. It's like it's a reflection of what makes me think of what Christmas was like when I was younger, when you'd see
in
all
Wyoming.
the colors or Oregon for that matter.
Or even in Oregon,
There was something about like, even the stoplights blink a bright red and green. It's like everybody is dialed into what Christmas is. So is that for some reason
it definitely captures the nostalgia, the at least what we remember what it was once, but it's not so much anymore. Yeah. And I could see that. I like that song, and I like that song too. I suppose the same thing goes with chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Yeah, the Christmas song.
Yeah. If you look for non-faith-based ones, there's those. So, yeah.
What about faith-based? I mean, besides Silent Night.
I actually don't love Silent Night.
Stille Nacht.
I don't really like that one. I don't like Away in the Manger. Away in the Manger's okay, but it's better than Silent Night. I like O Come, Emmanuel a lot, which we'll probably sing Sunday, or at least sometime in the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
let's do it. Let's do it on Sunday. Yeah,
I don't have to.
No, I'd like to. So just for people who are listening, on a week from tomorrow, the family is flying to Texas to spend time with Vanessa's parents. So I'll be away for until New Year's, basically. Yeah.
Right.
So next Sunday is really kind of my last opportunity, and my voice is still trashed. But we're gonna do Emmanuel. Emmanuel is God Himself. I love that song.
Yeah, that's a great song.
I almost thought about calling my Ross King, who's a friend of the church, and saying, "Hey, my voice is trash. Would you like to dial in and sing this song so I don't have to?" Because I think he would. I mean, he's a good friend. He's a good friend. The song I thought of was the same one you mentioned, which is "O come, Emmanuel."
Yeah.
There's something about that is very kind of melancholy and
hopeful.
Yeah. There's something lovely.
But melancholy, yeah.
Yeah. I also love
There's a longing.
O Come Divine Messiah, which is not a Christmas song, but necessarily, but
Yeah, I have a friend actually, Ken Garrett, who did that thing for our church and often preaches for us.
Yeah.
And I've thought about this before, but he was telling me this again the other day that he's really had a transformation in his thinking about Christmas, which we probably all should have a little bit of. Is that the original intention of all of this was to look forward to the second coming. It was really supposed to be more about that. That we look back to look forward. And so which makes O Come Divine Messiah a Christmas song. But it's morphed over the years, really. Let's talk about changing from Silver Bells to whatever it is now. But also how Christians think about it too has morphed over the years too.
I think we should not lose sight of the fact that Christmas is an opportunity for Christians to have conversations with people. Not blunt-edged conversations like, do you know what Christmas is really about? That kind of stuff. But just, to like, I think about like Sam, and I'm like, yeah, obviously we're getting presents. Obviously Christmas is about, there's a lot of giving and stuff. But, ultimately, why we're doing this is because God came to earth in flesh,
right,
in order to wipe away all this garbage that not only that we have done, but continue and will continue to do.
There's so much hope in Christmas.
There really is. Well, anyway, we're a few minutes in at this point, so it's 7 minutes in, but.
One little thing like that, and it helped me remember, by the way, is we really need to encourage people to invite people to Christmas Eve service, even though you won't be there, which for the first time in many years.
It's been 10 years. Yeah.
Has it been 10 years? But the reason why is because statistics are quite clear that if anyone who doesn't go to church is going to go to a church service, it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It's not Easter, it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And so,
it's kind of a non-threatening time.
It's non-threatening. And this time we're going to be going through the Advent candle wreath thing. It's just going to be a very upbeat, lively, fun kind of an event. So this is a great one to invite people to.
I just have to tell you that it bothers me. It bums me out so significantly because more than any other service, Christmas Eve at Open Door is really special to me. It's just a significant service to me. And, it is what it is. Life is hard. Sin is in the world. People are sick. And this is the way it is. But I just want people to know at the congregation, or whether you're part of our online congregation or in-person congregation, that I'm so bummed that I don't get to spend that special service with you.
And this is completely off topic. And if I could edit it out of this podcast, I would. You should record a brief little video of saying that, and I can play it at the start of the service.
I will do that. I will 100%.
That would be fun. That'd be fun. Or even if we could zoom you in, that'd be fun too. But anyways.
Well, I'll be I'll be on a plane when that's happening.
Will you really?
Yeah, we leave Texas on Christmas Eve, and we get
Jan just said, "I'm grateful for the pastor's podcast. It makes me happy."
Who said that?
Jan.
Jan, let me just say, I'm so grateful for you. And since I know you're there and listening, I'm just going to share my favorite memory of Jan, real quick. Do you mind?
No, go for it.
A couple years into me as worship leader, I was ambitious enough to try to do an Easter service, like a program. And she was one of the people that volunteered to sing. And we did a song called Your Blood Ran Down.
Right.
And I remember the first time we practiced that as a group, that we kind of had to stop and all kind of go, wow, this is the gravity of what this represents. And she was one of those people that just, I at least my recollection of it was really touched by what that song represented. And at that time, I felt like she was one of those people I really wanted to reach as a worship leader. because she represented the legacy of the church, and wanting to bring her in. And I just love Jan. So Jan, thank you for listening, and I love you.
Don't we all? Yeah. All right. So this week, we talked about, I've been going through the prologue in the Gospel of John. It is John's Christmas story. John 1, basically chapter 1, verses 1 through around at verse 18. So maybe a verse or two after that. But roughly that's where it's at. And this last week, I did verses 6 through 8. And a lot of it really is just John's testimony about the light, the word, Jesus coming into the world, that Jesus is the light of the world and he's come into the world. And one of the struggles I have with this prologue is John is so compact and dense in his writing.
It's like Paul.
Oh, I know. But there's so many themes in the entire gospel of God, John, that he's packing into that. He's just giving little hints here and there. And I'm like, so where do I stop? What pieces do I leave out? So I just did a little bit of a summary of what John actually said. He's the light of the world. He's the Lamb of God. He's the Son. He's the Son of God. He's the bride. He's he's greater than all of us. And then I just kind of unpacked it. What does it mean to be the light? And the light, again, in the Gospel of John, is a huge metaphor. It's a huge metaphor in all of Scripture. And I just wanted to connect a couple of words for you to kind of give you a sense that light in the Bible is a reference to God's glory. It's a reference to goodness. God's goodness and glory is all intertwined and doing what is right, but also beauty. The light is beautiful. His glory is beautiful. Goodness is beautiful. And so all of that is wrapped up into this idea of the light. And life is part of that too. And so all of this is part of this concept that John is saying when he's saying that he is the light and the light became flesh, that the God of eternity stepped into time and became, and my point was trying to say all of the goodness, all the beauty, all the stuff that you really love and desire that's deep in your soul, all of it is in Jesus. And so just give thanks for that, because that's the source of everything that's good in your life. So,
one of the things that was like really sat with me was when you were talking about Moses and his desire to have God revealed to him. And I remember sitting in my little alcove like I do on Sundays and going, because asking for something like that is so significant.
Wow.
And Moses didn't really fully understand what he was asking for.
Right.
And the fact that God shared his goodness. And what I heard, hello, Milo. Milo was very interested in hanging out with me. But what I heard was, I'm going to share this little bit that I think you can handle. And you didn't necessarily say that, but in my mind, it was like, I'm going to share my goodness, because if I shared all of me, you'd be wiped. Your brain would be gone, because I don't think you really went into this, not my recollection, but that the greatness of who he is, the awesomeness of who he is too much.
Yeah. Well, you're not far off, because he could only see his backside, God's backside.
Yeah.
He hid him in the cleft of a rock, covered him with his hand, and then as he passed by, and then he removed his hand as he went past. So yeah, you're right. Your instincts are right. He only saw a glimpse of God's true glory. But goodness is wrapped up into it. So I just want to affirm you that you're, as usual, thinking right. So go ahead.
But to me, like when we talk about the word awesome, when we talk about God's nature and all that stuff, that we get so wrapped up in our own very limited human understanding, our own human experience, and try to project that upon the greatness of God. And this is one of my favorite examples of where God's like, you know, his a few good men moment. You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the
You
truth.
can't handle my awesomeness. And it's not God being like, look at me, look how amazing I am. It's more like, no, I'm serious. You should like you should not eat the level 6 hot sauce. It will kill you. You know,
Right.
right. And that's kind of what's happening here. But the fact that God chose to share as a part of that primarily his goodness. Like, I want you to understand how much I love you and how much, how important you are to me, and how I'm not going, you know, my intention is always for your good. That's what I'm going to share with you. And so when you see that, then you can, it's much easier to take that and apply it to who Christ is. Christ is God's grace and goodness incarnate for your benefit. And you may be stuck under a rock with my hand over it. You may not understand it in my time, and yet it's a taste of my goodness.
Amazing. God is so bigger and better than we think. He really is. And we're so limited in our thoughts.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a context. Yeah.
Right.
It's a great thought. It's a great thought. And it made me think about how one day we will see the fullness of his glory once we're transformed to be like Jesus in eternity. We will see him face to face. We will live in his full presence. And we get to share his glory, John 17, that we get to, you know, have to be, that we be partakers in that. It's, you know, and I've said it before, and I hadn't thought about it in a while, that you really can't oversell how good God is, or how good heaven will be, or how good eternity is. You can't oversell it. It's better than we can possibly imagine.
You know, you just made me think of something. Go finish your thought. I'll do what
because
you
of
do.
Jesus. That was it.
When we think about Moses, I mean, Moses is one of the great ones, right? Moses and Abraham and
Right.
Israel. You know, I mean, he's among the most awesome people of the Old Testament. He couldn't handle
Of
it.
all of history.
Right. At some point, though, we will be transformed into who we were intended to be, and we will be able to take in this greatness. And it tells you how far we still have to go. That if anybody out there thinks, I'm close, I feel it, I'm pretty close, you are not. You are so far away. And that's okay. I'm not taking anything away from you. But we are so far away. Oh, you ran how far? Cool. God is so much farther than that.
Yeah.
He's way over there.
Yeah. So much more. So much more. Again, it's that image that I say it regularly, the Dunning-Kruger effect, which now I've said enough. Maybe some people are starting to remember, you know, when you don't know much, you think you know more than you know.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we understand that as adults, right? As we get older, we realize, oh, I thought I understood that.
Yeah, no,
I don't have any clue. I have no clue, right?
It's the wisdom of a 6-year-old who thinks they understand the world.
Or wisdom of a 16-year-old who thinks they understand the world.
Yeah, you think you got it all together, right? Yeah, no, you don't.
Right. Wow. Yeah, and it's all based on context, right?
It's all context.
Right. Well, Dad's an idiot because, obviously, right? Like, oh, wait until you become an idiot, because you will. You know, like, I know how little I know. You know,
how little you know, and so that makes you smart. I mean, it's Socrates said the same thing. You know, the wise person is the person who knows that he doesn't know.
Yeah, it's ironic. It really is.
Yeah. So, but the application is that we are so fallen that we don't get, we don't see how glorious and good God is, because it's just so much more removed from what our own experience is, that we just can't see how far it could be, how extreme his greatness is. We just don't get it. And we can't. And that's okay. We can't. Some of that's just a matter of trusting his word that he's better than we think, wiser than we think.
That's a big jump. And I also think that's where we as individuals, in our insecurity and maybe our own individual arrogance, believe part of our job is to bridge that gap, right? That we don't necessarily trust God to the extent that we should. And so therefore, when we see that we think the world is falling short, that our job is to provide kind of, no, that's actually what the Holy Spirit is for.
Right.
Right. It's like, let's leave space for that part of the Trinity that actually can get the job done.
Oh, man. Well, that's an encouragement to me. And when I forget all the time that it's that I only can do so much, and there's and so much of it needs so much of what I want to see happen in people's lives or in the world. I don't have the power to do, but he does, and I need to just take a step back and just let the weight off my shoulders of trying to force the world to be better when it's not really in my ability to do that. I can do my part, but that's it.
It's a really a home improvement exercise. Like when you were so desperate for something to get done in your time, in your way, that you at some point pull out the rubber hammer and think, if I just hit it hard enough, it's going to work. Vanessa she gives me crap, excuse me. I use that word, but you use that on Sunday anyway. She gives me that, like when things start to,
for that one.
Yeah, when things aren't working, it's like, well, get out our trusty rubber mallet. If we, as my dad would say, hit it hard, they come easy. Wham, But that's where we're kind of inserting ourselves. And Sam pointed this out to me a couple weeks ago, that when I take a break and take a breath, walk away for a little bit, and come back. Oh, I can see things a little more clearly. Yeah. It's actually easier than I thought it was. And it's, there's insight in not trying to be everything.
Yeah.
And that brute force isn't going to accomplish it.
Well, and of course the hard part is sometimes it kind of does. You can hit, a round peg in a square hole. If you hit hard enough, you'll damage both.
Yes. Yeah.
But you kind of can sort of do it, but that you don't want to go that route. And it doesn't always work, because sometimes it's not wooden. It's two metal pieces and it ain't going no matter how hard you hit. But once in a while, and that's the part that gets us, is that sometimes if we do really push hard, we can kind of get the result we want, but that's not a good thing.
See, one of my favorite sayings is, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
Right? So there are definitely going to be examples where, when you assert yourself, when you use brute force, that you will get a positive outcome. It's important to recognize that those are the exceptions and not what is called for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how we got there as we're talking about
I don't
John.
know. I got there because I'm like, I needed to hear that. And it helps me tie into my sermon for Sunday. So yay! How did we become children of God? It's born from God, not from human effort. There you go.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Human effort. I mean,
human effort just can't get the job done. Get the job done.
Human effort to me is a toddler, like trying to push the car and you putting into drive and letting him pretend like he's moving the car, right?
Yeah.
Right? God's like, okay, here you go. Good job, buddy. Good job.
This is such an old lesson for me that made me, Yeah, I guess I'm just wallowing in this good reminder right now. I remember trying to become a pastor, and every door was closing, and
I remember
even though
that too.
tried so hard in so many different ways, and it one of the big lessons for me was that we're so much weaker than we think we are to get stuff done. And it is often our strengths and the ways that we can force things to work that actually deceives us.
Yeah. I mean,
It really does deceive us to think we're better and stronger than we really think. What?
The evil one works that way, right? He uses our ego and our perception of our own strengths to say, oh, I can influence this because I am strong in this area. And I know, and trust me, I understand that as much as anybody. I can be very eloquent off the cuff and also an idiot, at the same time. And it's just, it lulls you into believing. And I feel that in worship sometimes. But there are times when worship feels so good that I'm like, oh, let's flow with this. And it's when I surrender and say, I don't have any control over this. It's not the way that I play the guitar. It's not the way that I sing. It's the way that the Spirit is present in that space. And, in fact, one of my favorite parts of Sunday, and I'll share it. I mean, I don't think anybody's listening that would notice anyway, but there's a young couple that has been attending recently, and I watched the young man come forward during communion, and knowing his background as a Catholic, oh gosh, that was significant. Because it wasn't a priest preparing the Eucharist, as we would call it, these elements. That was a moment where I just savored. I'm like, I had nothing to do with that. You had nothing to do with that. That was him walking forward in faith and saying, I believe that this is Christ. This is representative of that sacrifice in spite of everything that I grew up believing. That hit me hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite the privilege that we get to enjoy on a weekly basis. So, well, thanks for joining us tonight for this very meandering, as often happens, kind of podcast. But I hope you were edified. I certainly came away encouraged, and it was good to see you, Joe. And looking forward to seeing you guys on Sunday.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me asking, please pray for the recovery of my voice. It's unlikely to be fully recovered by Sunday, but I really hope it's recovered enough that I get to selfishly sing some songs that are really special to me, since I won't get to see you for a couple of weeks, folks. So prayers are much appreciated.
We will do that. All right. You guys have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.